ABC Wednesdays. The Emmy-winning comedy Scrubs is all new.
This is a whole new chapter for me. No more sad sack.
That's what I'm talking about.
I want both of our sacks to be fun.
You two idiots are perfect for each other.
From executive producers of Ted Lasso and Shrinking.
We were all a part of this victory. Now get those nachos out of the preemie warmer. Nachos! Feels like there's more applause for the nachos than my speech.
The new season of Scrubs. Wednesdays, 8, 7 Central on ABC. And stream on Hulu.
Smart, sharp, and slightly unhinged. Late Night's Fresh Perspective. The Last Show with David Cooper.
In the UK, at least, chocolate bars are being locked in anti-theft boxes in stores because they're being stolen to order. We're not talking diamond heists, we're not talking stolen iPhones, but we're talking food theft. Here with Sylvain Charlebois, the food professor at Dalhousie University. Check out his podcast called The Food Professor Podcast. Sylvain, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, David.
At what point does chocolate become the Rolex of the snack aisle that people covet, and if you can't afford it, you might steal it? What's going on with chocolate theft?
There's always a pattern. As soon as a product goes up in price at the grocery store, or if media talks a lot about it, it tends to attract crime. Criminals. You'll see heists, you'll see theft increase. We've seen that with cheese, for example, meat products. They were heists in Canada in recent months related to meat. But I'm not surprised with chocolate, because we've been talking about chocolate prices for a while. I mean, the price of chocolate, cocoa futures, were almost at $12,000 US a metric ton. I think it was less than a year ago. Why? Because both the Ivory Coast and Ghana couldn't produce enough, and demand for cocoa was actually rising, especially in Asia. And so the previous record was about 3,500, 4,000. So as you can imagine, there was a lot of panic, and a lot of manufacturers are paying more for their cocoa. So that's why a lot of people are seeing higher prices. But when that happens, of course, criminals are paying attention.
For organized criminals who steal a lot of chocolate, what makes it like the perfect crime commodity? Is it because it's shelf stable, because it provides a lot of calories, because it's universally loved, because it's just expensive? If you steal it and then resell it, you can really get a good buck?
Seriously, do you know anyone in your life that doesn't like chocolate? Seriously.
Yes, I know one person. I also know one person who doesn't like pasta, and that is insane to me. That is the best food in the world, pasta.
God.
If I could choose one food, I do, but to answer your question more generally, no, everyone loves it.
Well, exactly. And so that's why it's an easy to find a market. It's shelf stable. You don't need a cold chain, an expensive cold chain. And so whenever I see a heist of meat, I say, well, that group has a market already. So the black market will actually emerge because of higher prices. And so people will actually steal something for someone or a group of people. So they already have a buyer for some of these products. With chocolate, you're not in a hurry. You don't have to be in a hurry. You can actually store it for a while.
Interesting. Now, when prices of commodities go up, I suppose people are more likely to steal them. Side note, we're not advocating theft here. You mentioned chocolate futures in the past being at an all-time high. I mean, eventually there's only so much demand, and supply is variable. The supply will go up. Are prices set to drop from here? Is my chocolate bar going to be cheaper in the future?
That's a really good question, because right now, since November, I would say that we've seen cocoa futures drop. I mean, dramatically. They're below $3,500 US a metric ton now. That's a huge drop in just a few months. So a lot of people were asking me, are my Valentine's Day chocolate going to be cheaper? No, not for this year.
Yeah.
Maybe for next year.
I do wonder, though, just because a metric ton is cheaper for a manufacturer to buy, will they then lower the price? Or have they basically tricked us as consumers to spend $20 on the chocolate box? They know that we're still willing to do it, so they just take a higher margin and lower cocoa prices, in like raw cocoa prices, or I guess processed, whatever, doesn't mean that my box of beloved's Valentine's chocolate price will go down.
You raise a good point. Nobody really knows. It just gives the ability for. So whenever I'm asked the question, will chocolate be cheaper? Will coffee be cheaper? Or whatever commodities, because the correlation between commodity prices and retail prices is very weak.
Yep.
To your point. So if one drops, doesn't mean the other drops. It just means that the industry has a greater ability to manage margins, essentially. So you may see loss leaders, you may see deals here and there, but the bottom line is that, yes, it's like the tide. You know, the tide, when you see a dock, the water goes up and it leaves a line.
Mm-hmm.
That's the mental line in all of us. So markets, companies know that we actually have kept that line in our minds. So we're willing to pay more for chocolate, and that will remain in our minds. And they know that. And so it's the same for everything else. It's just, you could see more loss leaders in the market. That's basically what happens.
I suppose lower prices of the raw material of cocoa just ends up with a bigger smile on a chocolate company CEO's face, because they know they take a bigger margin. Same's true for coffee. Same's true for any variable priced.
And not all chocolate are created equal. So like milk chocolate, for example, cocoa content is very, very small. And so they're not impacted by costs, are not impacting, say, milk chocolate than like dark chocolate where there's a lot of cocoa in there. So obviously I wouldn't expect changes with dark chocolate as much as, say, milk chocolate, for example.
Sylvain, something you were telling me at the commercial break, which I loved, my question based on what you were saying, is TikTok driving the price of food up and down with buying trends? You were mentioning there's a run right now on cottage cheese because online content creators are, I guess, plugging it.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe Big Cottage Cheese is behind it. The Big Cottage Cheese lobby. You don't want to mess with them.
I can think of at least 10 products that have actually had their TikTok moment in the last couple of years. I'm thinking of celery, cucumbers, and cucumbers.
You can't get a stalk of celery because the kids are talking about it?
There were shortages of celery and cucumbers in Canada for a while because of TikTok. And every time I meet a group, I said, try to get your TikTok moment, man. That's going to be so good for business. But right now in Canada, I can tell you TikTok is telling all the kids out there, eat cottage cheese is good for you. And guess what? There's a shortage.
But it is good for you. It's good that they're saying that, and they're not saying, hey, like take old lead paint chips from old walls before lead was illegal and eat those.
Most of the TikTok trends that I see, I don't know about you, but all the TikTok trends that I see are for healthy products. So I'm not against TikTok doing this. I think it's not a bad idea to actually get kids to eat healthy foods.
I'll say with the very narrow spotlight on foods, because certain TikTok trends about like medications and I don't know, like injectables, like Botox and all this stuff, not all of them are good, but this one I agree is good.
I'm a food guy. Yeah, I'm a food guy. So I don't get into pharmaceuticals or anything else. And I agree with you. I think there's some stuff out there that's not necessarily great.
Just so we can meet our educational burden for broadcasting regulatory standards, I got to ask you one smart question and not all do stupid stuff. Why is cottage cheese so healthy?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, first of all, it's dairy. It's there's not a whole lot of processing. There's just a couple of ingredients. That's it. And it's wholesome. Yeah, it's wholesome. It's been around for decades. And so absolutely, that's why it's natural as well. And it goes with a lot of different products and mostly with fruits and vegetables, which is also good. Gut health is the one.
Gut health is the one. I'm here with Sylvain Charlebois, the food professor at Dalhousie University. Check out his podcast called The Food Professor Podcast. Sylvain, this has been a lot of fun. Thanks for being on the show.
Take care.
Monster Energy. Everybody knows White Monster Zero Ultra. That's the OG. It kicked off this whole zero sugar energy drink thing. But Ultra is a whole lineup now. You've got Strawberry Dreams, Blue Hawaiian, Sunrise, and Vice Guava. And they all bring the Monster Energy punch. So if you've been living in the white can, branch out. Ultra's got a flavor for every vibe. And every single one is zero sugar. Tap the banner to learn more.